Playboi Carti has been one of my favorite artists for 4.5 years now. Ever since 2019, I've been bumping his music. I would even go as far to say I was a diehard fan of his stuff in mid-2020. So since my Yeet ranking video got so much positive feedback, I decided to make a Carti ranking video as well. Nowadays, I don't listen to Carti as much as I used to, and I think I know why, but we'll come back to this topic at the end of the video. Also suggest me what video you want me to do next. The albums that will be ranked are the ones only found on his Spotify and SoundCloud. I will not be searching for some underground ass album he probably made in 2012 for me to end up putting it in last place anyway. Also, one more thing. I want to clarify that this ranking is based on my thoughts, memories, and experiences with each song in his discography. It's okay if you disagree, everyone has different views on music, and music is supposed to be very subjective. Alright, with all that out the way, let's begin.
Disappointment in the game of life.
And the worst Carti album is...
Bruh.
We all knew this was gonna be in last place, right? Alright, this is the only album on the list I had to actually give a few listens before I formed an actual opinion on it. The reason is, well, because I never got into listening this album prior to making this video. And after listening to it for this past week, I now know why I wasn't intrigued to listen to it in the first place. Young Zanho is a kinda cool opener. The track is a little boring though. Talk is better than the intro track. It has a better flow but nothing too special. I Got Depressed Hoes is the worst on the album. The only positive is the intro, but it's so goddamn slow and boring and the feature isn't anything crazy. Count It Up has a heavy use of autotune by Carti, at least compared to his shit now, but I kinda fuck heavy with this. Picks up the pace, unlike the tracks prior to it. Don't Tell Nobody literally sounds like a low-tier self-titled track, which makes it a good track, I guess. Fetty is the most popular track on this album, and I'm not really surprised. Good song, but for Carti standards, it's kinda mid, at least compared to his new stuff. The only thing I wrote about Freestyle for the People is that it has a cool beat. 4 Teaspoon is a great track. I love the gun sounds on it and the little different skits on it at the start. Very ahead of its time, and this is the best track on the tape in my opinion. Bands was flowing clean on the beat, but nothing crazy from Carti. Plug features Kodak Black and Rich the Kid, and they both deliver great verses. They are flowing very well on the beat, and Carti surprisingly keeps up with them. And that's all the stuff I wrote about this thing. The flow Carti has on this album is so slow. Kinda reminds me of like sad emo 2016 rap. This is definitely not a bad album, especially the last few tracks. They had way more energy, but man, for Carti this is so boring. Especially with what he's brought to the table with his new stuff. You can kinda tell that he's building upon his flow and style. In 2016 though, this was very ahead of its time. Honestly, Carti's sound in 2016 was very unique. If I had known this album existed in 2016, I would feel like a fucking god. I honestly enjoyed this album way more than I thought I would, and I'd recommend you guys give it a listen. Self-titled is a huge improvement over In Abundance. How do I explain the improvement in monkey terms? Well, In Abundance is that frozen pizza you get from the supermarket. Self-titled is a fresh pizza from your favorite pizza place. That was probably very confusing, but man, this album is a straight classic. Location is top 20 Carti tracks, and listening to this feels like you're traveling back in time to where the Big Bang happened. Magnolia was Carti's first big hit, and for very good reasons. This is the definition of a classic Carti track. Although it's overplayed, the production by Pierre and Carti's perfect flow make this one of the best tracks on the album. Lookin' is the first Uzi feature on this record, and the track is pretty decent, but the next track, which back-to-back features Uzi, it's like 100 times better. The beat produced by Pierre is heavenly, and Uzi and Carti complement each other almost perfectly. Let It Go is another Pierre-born produced banger, and man, I love this beat. This track also shows how versatile Carti's ad-libs can be. Do That Shit is also a banger. The intro always gets me hyped, and in my opinion, it's top 15 Carti tracks. Okay, the next track, Lame Gentleman, features a great instrumental. Man, instead of meat riding Carti, I'm just meat riding Pierre's beats. I'm sorry. Yao Ming is on the same level with Location. It features a heavenly ass beat. Flex is a very special song to me, man. This is definitely top 10 Carti tracks. And the last noteworthy song I wrote about is Kelly K. I love this track, but you know what's funny? I discovered this song from these videos.
White hoe, let's go. That's one type, dog. White hoe, yo, let's go.
And I'm happy I did, because I love this track. All the songs I mentioned are 10 out of 10. And the songs I didn't, just know that I think that they're at least an 8 out of 10. so pretty solid. This album is insane, and again in 2017, this album was groundbreaking. This thing inspired so many people to make music, and just for that alone, it's such an important album. But the craziest thing is that he managed to pull off a bigger effect on music with his next project. Die Lit is a great album, man. It's mostly produced by Pierre, so it makes sense it's above self-titled for me. I love Pierre, but homosexuality aside, I believe that every song on this album is at the worst and 9 out of 10.
You stupid!
And the improvement from self-titled is pretty substantial. Not vocally, but I would say mostly production-wise. If you analyze these two projects, you can tell there's an extra layer of polish to the tracks. Long Time is the best intro of any Carti album. RIP, what is there to say about this track that hasn't already been said? This shit is a masterpiece. From the beat to how Carti manages to flow on the track effortlessly, this track is top 5 Carti and insanely ahead of its time. Lean For Real is fire. Carti's ad-libs go off on this. Old Money is a good track, but the only thing I will say about this track is that Pierre's version was better. Love Hurts is a good song, but nothing crazy to me. Shoota featuring Uzi is a great freaking song. I was obsessed with this shit in 2019. These dudes complement each other on almost every song they're both in. Right Now is not a mind-blowing song, but for some reason I had it on repeat in 2021, and I still love this thing. Poke It Out is a musical landmark because it features the only decent Nicki Minaj feature in the history of mankind. Home KOD is an addicting song, but I got burned out of it very quickly. Fell in Love is another addicting song. I got great memories attached to this song, man. Every time I hear that intro, I always get goosebumps. The only word I can use to describe Foreign is simply classic. Pull Up is straight up another addicting song. Mileage is top 15 Carti, and Chief Keef delivers some hard verses. Middle of the Summer is a masterpiece. This is my favorite track off of Die Lit. Chop I Won't Miss is great. Free Young Thug. Notice Me with Nudie is great too. Free Young Thug. And Top is a good song, but it's a lie. Pierre does not appear in this whatsoever. Like, this is literally a lie. This record is, to many, just perfect. I still have some problems with this tape, but it's mostly stupid nitpicks that, hey, at the end of the day, I'm glad this thing exists. And just as with his last record, this shit spawned a bunch of new artists. It upgraded a sound that was already very ahead of its time, and people loved it. Whole Lotta Red. I was there. I was there. I was there on December 25th, front lines, defending this shit like a brain-dead BTS fangirl. And fast forward 2 years later, everybody loves this album. Hooray, I guess. This album to me is the definition of wait to get familiar with the sound. When it first came out, I liked like half of the tracks, and now I can confidently say that this is the best Carti album.
What did he say?
Listen, it was very close ranking Die Lit over Whole Lotta Red, but at the end I didn't because I wanted to account for a bunch of different factors like replay value, what it brings to the table, and what it lacks. So at the end, I just decided that Whole Lotta Red deserves first, but barely. Rockstar Made is a great freaking introduction, produced by Filthy. Finally, this producer got the attention he deserved. Go to the Moon with Ye is great, but I wish Carti had the same amount of bars as Kanye. But other than that, this track is top 10 Carti, and the instrumental is simply crazy. Mistake me if I'm wrong, but I believe this was one of the tracks Carti previewed in 2020 on his Instagram, and that was a nice memory. Stop Breathing is as crazy as Rockstar Made. These two tracks were made exclusively for mosh pits. Beano is very underrated and was my favorite track when I first heard it. Jump Out the House is a bit repetitive, but I love it. Metamorphosis is simply a bop. I wish it was a bit shorter though. Slayer is a bop too. It doesn't really fit on this album, but it's whatever, I still love it. No Sleep is another mosh pit song that I love. New Tank is top 10 Carti and is insane. Teen X is the first track everyone was making fun of when this thing first came out, but come on. Everyone secretly knew that this was a bop. Meh is good, but At Meh is better. I'm sorry, that is the truth. Vamp Anthem is fire. I remember Fantano really hated this track. Like, bro, he took the instrumental too seriously. New Neon doesn't fit on this album at all, but I don't care because it was my grail before it released. And I'm glad we have it in CD quality now. Control has that funny academic skit. That and the Diamond Ring line make this track like 100 times more memorable. Punk Punk is my favorite off of this record. If you listen to this track and tell me this thing sucks, you're just wrong. On That Time is insane. Another mosh pit track. King Vamp doesn't fit either, but it's a nice track. Place got a funny pause at the first 2 seconds. Also, I think this was a grail for a lot of people before it released, so I'm glad we have this too. I like Sky, but I feel like half of the songs on this deserve Sky's streams. Over was a track he previewed on Instagram too, and I loved it ever since he did. I Love You, I Hate You is simply a classic at this point. Same with Die For a Guy, another mosh pit crazy ass song. Not Playing has a Geometry Dash type beat and it's fire. And Feel Like Dying features a Bon Iver sample and it sounds so heavenly, man. This is a great outro to the album. This record is very special to me, but unfortunately I overplayed it. Like a lot, to the point where I didn't want to listen to it for another year or so. Around mid-2021, TikTok blew up this record and there were a bunch of Carti warriors spawning everywhere. If you look down in the comments right now, you'll definitely find some. Try to be civil though. They don't know what an opinion is. It's done finally. This is my list, and yes, it's exactly the same way they were released, but that's Carti, man. With every new project, he delivers something better than the last. I don't know what the future holds for this man, with all the goddamn lies he's been saying, but honestly, I wish him the best. Thanks for watching, consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.